Download this
We need
song.
that
I'll send you the link.
Thank you,
Yes,
everybody.
it's a lovely worship song.
Yeah.
A moment of
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Again, today is Sunday, May 1st, and we'll be having a serious, solemn moment. We have a few of our engineers that will be testifying and sharing with us how God has, helped them in their journey in Landmark. And today, their levels have changed. And the reason we always come back to thank God is because this is the doing of the Lord. It is marvelous in our sight. I can't take the glory. We can't take the glory. All the glory belongs to Him. And whenever we thank God, He continues to do more in our midst. And I remember, Bishop Oyedepo will always say, thanksgiving is application for more. So when you thank God, it's applying for more. It's just like you have a child at home that you give him something, he goes and says, Daddy, thank you so much. Or Mom, thank you so much. For that, my lunch that you packed for me today, I had good time in school. I shared with my friend Tony. I shared with my friend Mary. They were so happy. That is appreciation. That is provoking you. The next day, you just want to make sure that before he or she goes back to school, there is something available. So in Landmark, we always return to thank God. And since we started, it has not changed. It has been our tradition. So testimonies to us is not a marketing tool. We are coming back to say, Lord, this is you are doing. Is to say, if it was not the Lord that was by us, where would we have been? Nowhere. So we have some of our engineers, they have come back this evening with one mission, just to thank God for the transformation. And again, in Landmark, we are going to be thanking God because in the month of April, God took us into a new era. We used to set multiple jobs for 300,000 and stuff. We saw an era where a job is reading 700,000 plus. Now, that is a new era. So as a school, we have come back to thank God because we know whenever God takes you into an era and you appreciate Him, He takes you higher. So if you want to keep scaling new height in life, the easiest way to achieve that is to live a life of gratitude. As a matter of fact, it is said, if you are not grateful, forget about greatness. You cannot be great. So Thanksgiving is for us coming back to say. So this evening again, we have with us Amma. We have with us a good number of our engineers. Oromo Sole will be sharing his testimony. We have Claire and a host of others who we are going to be profiling, as we take those testimonies. And they all came to Landmark, as most of you have done today, and they are just here to tell us how their transition has been, how good the Lord has been helping them. So I'm going to start with, Oromo Sole, who is in class 27. He joined this program with his brother. I'm not sure if he's a younger brother or older brother, but his brother, direct sibling, and they are all hired. Their class is still in progress. So Omo, can you just tell us how your Landmark journey has been? We have a lot of folks here who really want to know, they'll be inspired, and it will be a prophecy for them as well. If it can happen for him, of course, it should happen for them as well. So you can unmute yourself. Let's just hear your story. I know you're, brother is busy. I'm not sure if he's in this meeting this evening. So let us know how that journey has been.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you for the opportunity to share this story. Actually, I joined Landmark class 27 in January this year. I had a friend who was in class 25, and he doesn't have an IT background whatsoever. So when he joined, he told me, I said, well, good luck. And he started working, I think in October. He got 2 jobs, and as a matter of fact, he started same day. So when he told me he got the job, I actually drove to his house. I saw his home office. I was like, what is going on here? So he sent me the link. This guy got 1, 2, not even 1 job. I was like, what is going on here? His name is Richard. I called my brother. I told my brother, I said, man, look at Richard. My brother knows him. Richard started this course. Now Richard is working. He has 2 jobs, not even 1. My brother was like, are you kidding me? He called Richard. My brother said, man, we have to get, because actually we had jobs, but we had left the city. We were scared that we're going to be called back to the office, and we really can't commute to Toronto. We were like almost 100 kilometers away from the city where we moved to. So my brother said, we did our research. We said, man, we need to get started. So we got started in January. So when we got started, we started from day 1. We were really kind of hot. After the lectures, we watched the videos. We'll go through the videos all over again. We had our notes. We were documenting the interview questions. So Prof said some people in the previous class, after the CICD process lectures, they started getting hired. So my brother called me and said, did you hear what Prof said in that lecture? I said, I heard. He said, that means after Jenkins, we need to put ourselves together. So immediately after Jenkins, even before the end of Jenkins, when Jenkins was about to end, we started looking for jobs, because at that time, because we work for the provincial government, I work for the city, but they have the same kind of policy. At that time, we already been notified that from the week of April 4th, we must start reporting to office twice a week. I knew that it was not just possible for me to be going to Toronto twice a week. So as soon as he was running up Jenkins, we started looking. My brother actually started a couple of weeks before me. My brother told me, man, bros, what are you waiting for? I'm having interviews already. If I had one interview, they are just concerned about the CICD process. They want to move to containerization. So everything is just about the CICD process. Before you say Jack Robinson, my brother got a job. Fantastic job.
Sorry for cutting you short. Some people are asking if they can invite their family members. Yeah, you can share the link with them. This meeting is an open meeting. If you have friends that want to join, you can forward the link to them. That's okay. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so my brother called me 2 weeks into the whole thing, even before I even started. He said, look, bros, I got an offer from West. I said, West in Canada? I said, no, from the US. The vice president spoke to me. I got this offer and it has quadrupled my income already, so I had to take it. I was like, man. Same day I arranged my resume. I said, send me your resume. I started looking for. I was looking and looking. Then I had a couple of interviews before this interview. So when I had this interview, the guy called me and said, we're going to book you for 2 sessions, 90 minutes technical interview. I was so scared. I was like, 90 minutes? Man, I've never had an interview so long. So I told my brother, I said, don't be scared. Just relax. So when I went to the interview, before I went to the interview, Prof played us a video of a guy in Oklahoma. The guy just got a couple of offers. So the guy explained in that video how he dealt with that interview. So I decided to take that video. I watched it over and over and over again. So when I went to the interview, the guy started, they asked me the first question, let us know who you are and all of that. I told them. And the guy said I should explain. One of the guys said I should explain this CICD process. The only thing I could see was that gentleman from Oklahoma and how he explained it on that video. So I just started explaining it. I was explaining. In fact, they did not even allow me to finish. I think after like 15, 20 minutes, they said, okay, that's it. We get it now. We get it. I think we know, okay, this is it. We get it. So the other guy asked me, are you guys into containerization? Because on the job description, I saw some questions I saw some of the job description that had to do with Kubernetes. At the time, Prof had not started Kubernetes. So I went to my friend's house in class 25. I said, guy, I get interview. Look at the job description. This guy said they will ask you a few questions about Kubernetes. These people, they probably want to migrate. These people are still doing the old deployment. So they are moving to, but I don't think they are already there already. So they won't ask you much questions, but take note of some questions. So he told me one. They will probably ask you, how do you set up your cluster? Then he walked me through, said, this is what you will tell them. Then he asked me, say, if you have 2 applications in your cluster that are not talking to each other, How do you resolve it? He told me, this is what you're going to do. And this is the step that you're going to take. And the third question he asked me, they might ask you, if you have a problem in your cluster, how do you fix it? So at the time, Prof had already taught us Docker. He asked me, he said, have you been taught Docker? I said, yes. So you know the process of resolving issues in Docker. If you want to troubleshoot, I said, yes, Prof taught us quite well. He said, okay, it is that same process, but it's a bit different. So why in Docker case, you might say Docker inspect. In Kubernetes, you say Kubernetes describe. So just to see and all of that. So he walked me through. And guess what? After I finished the OCI/CD process, they asked me a lot of questions about our build, our release, our configuration in Jenkins and all of that. They asked me those 3 questions that my friend told me about. Those are the 3 questions they asked me. So they asked me, I just dropped it for them exactly the way my friend explained it to me. And that was the end of the first 90 minutes interview. Then I said, okay, you are good. Next week, we're going to have another 90 minutes interview with our vice president and director of DevOps. I was like, wow, another 90 minutes again. I said, okay. So the guy said, but don't worry, it's not going to be rigorous. It's just going to be about your ability to work, your ability to work as a team and all of that. The first question they asked me in our second class, Prof told us about that question. Prof, the second time Prof taught us in class 27, Prof said, when you type google.com, what happens on the back end before you see the search engine right in front of you? Prof walked us through a little bit and said we should try and know that process. So I actually went and researched that process. That's the first question that I was asked in that interview. That's the very first question. After I, basically just did an overview. Prof told us about it the second Linux lecture that we had. Prof said, when you type google.com, what happens on the back end before you see google.com right in front of you? Prof did not elaborate on it. Prof said, it's something that you need to know. So I researched it, I documented it. And I had like few interviews before that interview. Nobody said anything like that. I didn't expect it, but that was the first question that was asked me in that interview. And I gave it to them. So after that first interview, I went to the second interview last Tuesday with the vice president, director of DevOps and all of that. They not ask me questions. They only ask me questions about my ability to work as a team. If I have multiple projects, the number of applications we are supporting in Landmark. Prof told us 13. I told them 12. Actually, I didn't say 13, I said 12, but I know Prof told us in Docker class 13. I told them we had 10 microservices and 2 monolithic applications. And basically, we talk about how to solve problems, how to work, how to resolve issues within a team environment, not really relating to, technical skills and all of that. So at the end of the next day, I got the offer and I just couldn't believe it. I called Prof. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. So my brother got started a couple of weeks ago. I got mine. I was like, this is just unbelievable.
Wow. This is a humbling testimony again, listening to you to see how you and your brother, these are direct siblings. I'm not sure who is,
I'm senior. I'm very senior.
Okay. Very senior. Okay. You and your younger brother are now speaking in multiple 6-digit after joining the Landmark program. Anyway, since we have a couple of people to hear their own story, I would like us to listen to Amma at this time as well. We'll come back to question and answer. I know a few people will want to know from you other, some questions as well for you to answer how your entire process has been. So Amma, I know you also joined this program. Can you just explain to us how your journey into Landmark has been? How did you hear about Landmark? How do you find yourself? I know now, you have your first job as a DevOps engineer. Just inform us, let's know how smooth that process has gone through, Amma.
Of course. Thank you, Professor. And hello, everyone. And to those that are just joining in, congratulations. I am really going to let you know that this is going to be the first day of the rest of your wonderful life. Because coming here, you can't turn back. It's just going to be a positive addition to your life. I'm telling you, it has been for mine. Well, my friends actually were in different classes. I'm on class 25. So my friends are actually in different classes that actually pointed me over here. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's self-discovery. There are things in this class that I did not know. Something about me, self-discovery. First of all, it's about mental health, your mental capacity to absorb all the things that you need to learn about being a DevOps engineer. My faith has been challenged. I've cried a few times because I thought that I'll be alone. I thought that I have no one with me, but I have support, amazingly, my team, and I thank them for that. I have Professor Lega to ask questions to, Professor Ken, my team, my friends that I have gotten close with. So the support is basically amazing. Thank you. When I started this journey, I didn't come from an IT background. It was a passion of mine since I was in college to be in IT, but I somehow stumbled into the medical field. When I started doing that, I had a family, and I never really gotten into the IT field after that. So decades went by. You know, it's paid, the medical field is paying the bill, so I stayed. But then when I found professor's class, I said that this is an opportunity for me. There's no time to wait. You know, we have to trust in the Lord that this is the path that He's paving for me and my family. The journey basically has been really a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your time, your weekends. You have to make sure that you study the course, be in that path. You don't go segue. You have to be focused. If you have in those modules that is very questionable for you, do not move forward. Ask your team, go with your resources, ask professor, ask. The help desk is there. And one more thing, the help desk is actually a way for you to be in a work environment. Be active in help desk. That's how actually it helped me. Help desk is one way that I learned the modules and actually teaching it to other classmates. So it's been a good process for me. Now, when we are in boot camp, this is where everything starts to happen. Like, oh my God, LinkedIn is going out. Resumes are getting blasted out. LinkedIn messages, they're blowing up. A lot of messages. Hey, I have a senior position for you. This is how much it's going to give you. This is how much it's going to be for the share profit. I got overwhelmed by it. So I start filtering them to the ones that I think I'm going to be happy. And of course, I stayed away from the medical field. But there are 5 companies that actually I am very serious about. And all of them have been very good interviews. The behavioral questions that they're going to ask you is, of course, how are you going to deal with stress? How are you going to deal with teammates that are going to have conflicts? How are you going to troubleshoot if there are servers that are not speaking with each other? You have to learn your craft. You have to keep study. You have to know that before you go in an interview. So 5 companies that I have interviewed with, I always moved on to the behavioral interview, next on to the technical interview, but I wasn't happy with them. And I told myself that, hey, Lord, if this is not for me, I'm going to have to say, I have to pause a little bit. But He didn't give up on me. God did not give up on me. There's one more company that was sent my way. And this is actually a company that I'm targeting with because this is the goal that I want to. It's a government job because my main goal is Department of Defense. That's my main goal. So this is a stepping stone for me. And with this interviewed me on my birthday, called me 2 days later, verified with me that that the tools that I'm going to get is actually not the one that we learned. I am going to deploy to a different environment that they're going to teach me, but at the same time, they're also going to ask me if I can help them migrate into other platforms. So there's a need for me, and there's a need as well for me as a benefit to learn other platforms. And I think it's a benefit, and it's a blessing from God that I actually stumbled into this. So on the 5th day, I was hired. Mind you guys, this is just from day 1 to day 5. That's it. God has paved the way for me. I went through a lot of trouble, but He knows that that's not for me. And He knows the last one is the one that's for me, and the one that I thought I'm going to give up on. But don't give up on yourself. But that's all I can let you know. Right? So, just trust the process, and always just learn your craft and don't give up on yourself.
Yeah, congratulations, Marie.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you. I know when you joined this program, a lot was playing in your mind, with this workout. But by God's grace, I'm so glad to listen to you today and to understand that that transition has been so evident. You graduated, that was October
January.
last year.
Yeah,
January, thank you.
January.
You graduated in January, and you are sharing your testimony with us today. You have been steadfast, even when, job offers weren't coming as you desired. You stood your grounds, and your persistency has paid, big time. We thank God for you, and I'm equally so impressed with your drive when it comes to the things of God. And my prayer for you is that this is going to be the least position you will ever occupy in your journey. We are going to be praying very soon. Today is a very important day for us. It's a day of prayer for Landmark. The testimony is phase 1. Phase 2, we'll get into serious prayers. And we are trusting the Lord that God is not only giving jobs to our engineers, but He's giving them companies. That's what we are believing the Lord for, because if God can do it for one, of course He can do it for all.
Absolutely.
So, okay, at this time, I would like to invite Alexander, Alex and the wife, Deborah. They're both in class 26, both pharmacies. And Alex, I know a lot of folks will be so eager to listen to your story. You called me just when I left church this afternoon, about 1 p.m. EST. And you're like, Prof, good news, the Lord has done it. That's how we speak in Landmark. If you listen to a Landmark engineer, you will know. I mean, he just wrote me and said, the Lord has done it, because it is either the Lord doing it or the Lord doing it. That's how it is in our midst. And, He cannot fail, because, man can fail, right? Man by nature is a failure, but God cannot fail. So when we stand with Him, we know He will do it. So Alex is with us this evening with a wife, both pharmacists from the United States. The Lord has blessed them so hugely. He told me how when they called him that he was supposed to have an interview, he was right there in the maternity ward. But thank God, the blessing came, in its number. So Alex, tell us how that your journey has been and how your transition, how the Lord has helped you in this journey.
Thank you, Prof. Like you started, all glory to God, really and truly. I think our journey or our testimony I think we have to start from our very beginning. Both my wife Deborah and I are pharmacists, and we were at a point in our careers where we were working a lot of hours, and it was taking us away from time with our families and time to serve the Lord. Even going to church was difficult, finding the time, and that's something that we sat down together and decided that we have to change going forward. And so we had a few colleagues that had mentioned IT, and we didn't know very much about it. We've never had any background in IT, but the thing that they spoke the most about is, it'd be allow you to be able to free up your time. You can work from home, and you can spend your time the way that that you're meant to spend your time, dedicated to God and to your family. So we said, okay. So we looked at different courses, different opportunities, and it came down to to Landmark. There was one other one. I came to my wife and I asked her, because I was ready to pay my money and to sign up. I was like, let me start. I was a week behind, but let me jump in, let me go. And I came to my wife and I asked her, what do you think? Something just my spirit told me that, to ask her, where do you think we should be? And wherever we go, I told her, we have to do this together. So she told me, I don't know very much about either of these programs, but at Landmark, they pray before every class. Prof prays before every class. And so she said, this is the one that we should go through. There was the best decision I think that we have ever made. We truly believe, I guess, the Holy Spirit is with Landmark. It is an anointed program. I sometimes refer to Prof as Pastor Prof, because he, as much as he teaches us the technical skills, he also preaches the Word of God and motivates us. That has sustained us through this whole process. So that was our introduction, our decision to start Landmark. Class 26. And so when we started, we had also not too far from there had discovered that we were pregnant as well. So we made the decision, really for our daughter as well. We wanted to be present for her, but we were also navigating a pregnancy and all the ups and downs of being pregnant. And so it was a challenging road. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad that we did it together. We motivated ourselves. For those of you women that may have maybe, I guess, pregnant or may have families, it's not easy, but by the grace of God, you can do it. My wife would often go to Starbucks. She would leave work at 4 or 5 o'clock, go to Starbucks until they closed at 9. They knew her there. They knew her. They knew her face, and she would be studying. And we're at home on our weekends. We would. I'm a sleeper. I fall asleep in front of everything, and so my wife would be the one that was poking me. Wake up, pay attention to this. And so it's not easy, but it's very doable. If you push yourself and make the commitment. And so fast forward to last week, yeah, and actually the month of April. Once boot camp started, we had made the decision. I took the time off from maternity leave, and my wife told me, she had to take a step back because she was about to deliver, and so she said, you have to go ahead, you have to start taking these interviews, take the time off, try to learn as much as you can, because it's hard when you're balancing work and the class. So I had fallen behind quite a bit, but she said, take this time off, you have 2-3 weeks, get as much time as you can, and before the baby comes, and study where you can, and jump right in. So I took her advice. And so I started taking interview calls. They were slow at first, but then once they started, they really came to the point where I turned to her. I was getting a little bit nervous because there were so many. And I felt like I needed to learn more. I needed to go back and watch all the lectures. I needed to a better mastery of the material. So I tell you all of this because whatever success that I had during my interviews, whatever questions I answered correctly, were truly the grace of God. I will say that God put us in the right place in Landmark, and Prof in his lectures, I think went over everything that we needed to know. You don't get that feedback when you're sitting in class in front of the computer, but whenever you're in front of an interviewer or a panel and you say something that you heard from Prof or from Prof Ken or a boot camp session, and they nod their heads, every time you do that, it gives you confidence. And so jump right in and trust the content that you've received. Every time that oddly enough, I was running around, running errands, trying to prepare to welcome our child, and so I didn't get as much time as I would have liked to study. But I do know that the little that I did study went a long way, even if it's not a lot. And I'll also say that if you can start every day with prayer, there were a couple of interviews that the night before we were sitting. It was a Sunday, and we watched Apostle Selman sermons online on Sundays, and so they can be quite long. And at some point, I just it was late, and we were watching this sermon, and I was like, I need to go study. But at some point, I just said, you know what? We're just gonna sit here. We're gonna watch this. We're gonna pray. The next day, we woke up. We prayed. Before my interviews, if I had 30 minutes to spare before the interview, I would pray. And those were the interviews that I surprised myself. Those were the interviews that they would ask me questions that I didn't know I knew, but the Holy Spirit just rose up something in me, and I spoke. And even when I started being nervous, I feel like I had favor in certain interviewers' eyes, and they just, they were kind to me.
Alex, let me just ask you a question. Sorry for cutting you.
No.
So this job that you got your offer, which so tell us how the interview process went. The first call. I mean, how many interview sessions or rounds of interview did you get to be given the offer though?
So this one had 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews. So one was an hour-long behavioral interview, and then the other one was an hour-long technical interview. And the funny thing about this one is the talent manager that called me called while we were in the delivery ward. We were just about to welcome our daughter, and I picked up the phone. My wife said, "Take it." I was like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Take it." I answered, and I told him, "Listen, we're about to deliver. Can I please call you back tomorrow?" He said, "Absolutely." I called him back the next day. We had a discussion. He was very pleased with my experience, and so he allowed, he scheduled an interview with the manager, I guess the managing engineer, for the next week. I got on the phone with him. I wasn't prepared, but I took the call anyways, even though I was nervous, and we talked for about 35 minutes, and he was pleased. So he said, "Okay, let me push you forward." And when I had my next 2 interviews scheduled, I actually missed the first one. The technical interview was my first interview for an hour long. I missed the interview. I got an email. He said, "What happened? You were supposed to interview at 11 o'clock." I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was today." So he rescheduled it for the next day, and I ended up doing the behavioral interview first. That day, I jumped on a lecture for class 27 because they were going over Kubernetes. I thought, well, it might be a good idea to refresh over these things. That technical interview, I had 2 that day. That technical interview, it was literally, I would say 60% of it was over Kubernetes, to the point where it was a back and forth discussion over different strategies to connect services and to deploy in different environments, simply because of the lecture that I had watched the night before. And so I say all that to say that trust God, trust that if he puts you in front of people, even the ones that say no, because every interview that I had before, I learned something from the interview process. They asked me a question or they shared something about their environment that I remembered, and I carried forth to the next one. So when I said it, I knew that it was actually something that was practiced, and it helped. So the process that God takes you through, it may not make sense at the beginning, but just trust. My wife always tells me, if God puts you in a situation, he's going to give you the grace to go through it, and succeed. And so that's been our experience. My wife took some time, took the time off to take care of our little one. She came on April 7th, and the job came a few weeks later. So we've had a lot of blessings in the household, but my wife, we started this process together and we're going to finish together. So she has her interview scheduled for next week. She's gonna jump right in. So I'm pushing her for the second deployment, and I know she's going to be equally as successful.
Wow, congratulations, Alex and Deborah.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to God listening to you and understanding that you guys are, talking about multiple 6 digits, I mean, transitioning from pharmacist to DevOps engineer, that you can work from home, take over watch over the baby as she grows up, and the other ones are going to be coming behind her.
Amen.
It's just a huge blessing. We thank God. We thank God. And the summary is that this is the doing of the Lord. It is marvelous in our sight. Because again, as I've made you guys to understand, like Moses, Moses was a stammerer, and the brothers were like, why Moses? God should not be calling Moses. He should call Aaron. Aaron was eloquent. He could, do a lot of. So at times we see what the Lord is doing in our midst in Landmark is humbling. It's so humbling. And that just goes to validate the word of God that says God is using, or God will use the foolish things of this world to confirm the wise. So we are humbled and we are grateful to God for you. We know that the testimony you have come to share, we are going to be praying very soon. We'll be praying for you guys as well. We have announced already, for those of you that were not in the first session, okay, all what I said was that whatever you are trusting God for, maybe you just came to watch the testimony session and you have issues with your life, God is here with us. God does not only give jobs, are you barren? God is able to give you a baby. Are you what are you trusting God for? What are you trusting the Lord for? He's in our midst, and He's so mighty. His presence is so mighty. He's so mighty in our midst. He can do anything. I can do everything. So in a very short while, again, we are going to be praying and we are going to be asking the Lord to move in a way that only Him can do. So I would like to take the next testimony from Claire. We have so many folks that are there with us this evening. It's always so difficult to take everybody, but we are going to listen to Claire's testimony again this evening, and just understand how the journey she has gone through in Landmark, the journey she has been going through this program, how the Lord has been able to help her as well. So Claire, I know that, your testimony, as a matter of fact, your testimony has ushered us into what I call a new era. It has ushered us into a new era. And even as we are going to be listening to your testimony this evening. We just want you to explain to us how that journey